That's exactly 23.5. And if I pull these away a little bit, so they're still engaged, but there's a little bit of room, that is then 24. So we've got around about 1/2 mil play in there. And what I know so far is that this is where the main gear center is going to be. Now, let's draw a line down the center of this. Not particularly sure about that. I'm just going to make sure that these are right in between those screws. Yep, that's all completely fine. Have a nice line down there. And now what we want is between 23.5 and 24. But it can't be under 23.5. And from where I sit, that looks around about perfect. 23 3/4. So these are going to be the centers for the gears. So here they are. I'm now going to mount these into the drill. I'm going to put a center drill on to get these as accurate as I can, and then put a drill through, right through both together. Then they're completely lined up. So this is using the cross slide. I tend to look up and down both of those lines at right angles and separately line up that center drill so that it's right on the spot. Having a center drill keeps the first cut really tiny, but it's still stable. And now obviously just putting the final drill through. Now just, this is the critical one. Once you've got the first one done, you've got to get them both really as close as you possibly can. Now that's got a bit of a wobble in it. It's because it's my old drill press. It doesn't matter that much, as you can see. Once it touches down, it stabilizes, and that's it. You just kiss it. It's very nice. Okay, so here we have the gears in place, lining them up over the holes, and they're meshing nicely. In fact, that's really nice. What I need to do now is design the spigot that's going to have the thread in it. And I think it's going to be 10 mil. I'm going to require a 10 mil hole through here. In the base of this, I've got this spigot here. This is far too long, so I'm going to have to cut that back. But I'm not going to worry about that yet, because... Okay, now I've just used a center drill to countersink these a little bit. Now the next step is to drill some holes in here, or actually put them in the lathe and turn some holes in here so that I can push this onto the spigot, however it's going to look. I know that I need to make it at a minimum 10 millimeters because the shaft is 6. That needs to go in to a piece of brass that therefore which would need to be at least 8. And this little raised boss here is 11.5. So I'm going to cut it. It's still inside the size of that raised boss to get the maximum amount of bearing that I can. So when I push it on, it's going to stay on. And there's going to be a little panel in here, or a little flange in there that I'll explain in a minute, that's going to assist with sticking this on permanently. Alright, let's go. Okay, let's see how I'm going to do this. I'm going to put a piece of brass in the chuck of the lathe. I'm going to drill a hole through the middle, which is going to be 5.5 mil, to enable me to cut a thread in that. On this side I'm going to open it up to 6, and on this side I'll open it up to 6. This isn't to scale at all, so that we're going to have teeth in there, and that's going to be the part that's going to, obviously screw onto the thread. The next thing to do is to turn this down like this. Now this will make sense once I get rid of everything else. Turn this down like that. So that I can push the main cog onto this flange here, up against this other piece that I'm going to leave, so that it will stick onto there. I think I'm going to use a combination of about 1/1000th of an inch interference to push it on, plus super glue, and I think that will hold it on quite nicely. But if it doesn't, I can always pin it through here at a later date, but I don't think that will be necessary at all. This size here will be around about 8 mil. So it gives a nice bit of clearance for the inside of that. On this side I'm going to make a bush that's going to fit like that, and a bush that's going to fit like that, and that will fit into our hole in the brass and in the plastic. And then this is going to protrude through into the 6 mil wall of the piston. I guess that makes sense. We'll work this out as we go along, but they're the basic principles of what I'm going to make.